All right, we've got Kimberly Meredith with us tonight. She's a medical intuitive, spiritual teacher, psychic surgeon. She's done work with ions, actually. We just had Dean Radin on recently, so it'll be interesting to talk to you about working with ions and all the other stuff. You've got a book out recently called Awakening to the Fifth Dimension, I believe, right?
Coming out
December 7th, right, Kimberly?
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
I just found out I was one of the first, probably one of the few people to read the book.
That's so nice.
I thought it was out already, but yeah, that is very interesting. I mean, full of good information about healing. And I mean, I got lots of questions about that. But I mean, we should probably start with your background a little bit because it has to do with your book and your healing abilities, let's say. You had a couple near-death experiences, which is fascinating how this happens to people, it seems, where they have these experiences and then they have these extraordinary abilities. So maybe we can start with that.
Okay. So, sure. So where do you want to start?
Well, I guess your background a little bit about yourself.
Well, I could start. I was born in Linwood, California, and I was born with healing abilities as a kid. So I was born with gifts. So I was born with my eyes were blinking as a little girl, and I was doing healings on animals when I was little. So I was born with healing abilities as young as 6 months to 7 years old, and then I was told to stop doing it by my family.
All right.
Particularly my mother.
And then how do your near-death experiences fit into that whole thing?
Well, in 2013, I got hit on foot by a car, and I did not take care of myself after that. I was working in the entertainment business. I was called a medical consultant on television shows, and I was really excited about those experiences. So I just didn't go to the hospital until I collapsed. And then I had 2 near-death experiences and led me into my full awakening, which was going back to my eyes that blinked when I was a kid. And my eye blinking connects me to the higher Christ consciousness, which is doing my mediumship, which is how I communicate with spirit. And that is my medical mediumship and scanning abilities, healing abilities, sort of like remote reviewing or I don't know if people know of Edgar Casey. So I'm sort of like a really, really, really fast communicator through spirit with my eyes and hands. And I found that out after the NDEs happened to me. They reawoke up all of the gifts that I had as a kid.
So did you stop blinking after your family kind of said you shouldn't be doing this, that kind of thing? Did you stop blinking for a while?
Yeah, I stopped from 7 to all the way up to 2013.
Oh, wow. So you actually weren't blinking that whole time or communicating with that at all. And then that NDE reawoke that.
I don't know if I wasn't communicating with God. I always loved God. I always loved working in the hospitals. I always was a caretaker, always serving, but I wasn't a medium. I wasn't working with spirits like I am now.
So what was it like to realize all that after your awakening?
Mind blowing to all of a sudden come home from going out of my body, having an NDEs, not even knowing the word was an NDE, just experiencing dying, going out of my body, and then coming home in a wheelchair, and all of a sudden, I think a month after having my eyes blink again, and not knowing at first, oh, my eyes are blinking like I was when I was a kid. And then understanding that I'm leaving a life that I was really used to having. I was living with my boyfriend at the time, working in the entertainment business, and understanding that I probably would never hold my head up for very long. I wasn't able to walk. And then I was having blinking going on in my eyes, and really not knowing what was ahead of me, and not, and he's not understanding it either. Why are you blinking? What's going on? And then not knowing what my next step of my future was going to be.
What made you realize that you had this healing ability? Like, did you put that together right away because the blinking was back from a kid, or did you have to experience something?
Yeah. No, I didn't know. I just knew the eyes were blinking. Didn't know one meant something, the other meant the other. Didn't know any of that stuff. It took about 6 months to probably a year to figure out that not only was it the Holy Spirit and the spirit guides really fully communicating, but I would dream. I'd go in and out of dreams. Spirit was coming and talking to me. My necklace around my neck, which was Jesus and Mary, would come off at night and land downstairs on the floor. All this paranormal stuff was going on. My arms would flap, hit myself like angels. All kinds of things were going on through that year, until I started having some really great communication with my girlfriend, who was an RN and also was a Reiki practitioner. She would come over and rub her hands together and put it over on the back of my head and try to do healing on me, because I was suffering from a hardcore concussion and none of the medication was working. And I talk about that in the book. And I didn't know what Reiki was. And I was like, this is working. And we were praying. We were praying in Hebrew. We were playing the Hail Marys. And when she would do that, my eyes would blink faster because they liked it. And I also had a cold laser machine that my uncle had sent me. And I was trying to learn how to use the laser machine, which is a really big Albert Einstein communicator. And I started using that on my neck too. And that started to help me. And the hospital was saying they saw an improvement. And all this was sort of transpiring with the eye blinking. And I was starting to hear, this is yes, this is no. This is yes, this is no. I was like, wow, I'm hearing messages now. So it was really cool. And then one day, my agent, who I'd worked with throughout the years that booked me on shows, came over. And that's when it all unfolded. The one afternoon, he came over to my house and he sat on the couch and he said, I have an operation I'm going to have. And I said, oh. And he said, what have you been doing? I said, I've been rubbing my hands together. I've been praying a lot on my neck. And my head's been feeling better from prayer. And he said, well, why don't you pray on my ankle, my Achilles heel? I have a surgery I'm supposed to have in a couple of days at the hospital. And I said, okay. And I was around 99 pounds at the time. Really, really, really not well, but slowly getting better. And I prayed on his Achilles heel. But I remember I wanted to say the Hail Mary. So I said the Hail Mary. And then I picked up my cold laser wand and I just put on there for a few seconds. And he left. And then I think it was the next day, and then he called me and he said, I'm healed. and I said, and I remember it was so weird because I never heard anybody say it like that. I'm healed. And I said, what do you mean you're healed? And he's like, I went to the hospital and they did an x-ray on it and the Achilles heel never came back down. It's completely healed. You have healing hands. And I said, I do? And he said, yeah. And he said, I'm getting chills right now because I'll never forget it. He goes, you're a healer. I said, I'm a healer? He goes, yeah, you're a healer. And I'd done acting, medical technical advising. I've been a nurse's aide my whole life, a volunteer, always wanted to be around sick people, helping people. And then I couldn't give up my acting jobs and helping the set. I just could never leave the hospital. And I went, but healer, I never heard the word healer. And he kept saying it, you're a healer, you're a healer. And I kept just like, it was so weird. And then I said, okay. And my eyes weren't connected yet to the scanning ability, which is finding cancers and things like that yet. I was just doing the healing and the laser. And then he goes, you know, I'm going to tell the guys over at Gold's Gym, this is in LA, to come over and you could do the healing on them. And I said, I guess, like that. And I still wasn't that strong. I was still in a wheelchair and still working on myself. And I had my boyfriend living here. And I said, okay. And so he wasn't kidding. He started sending people to my house and they were coming over in their gym clothes. And I needed to get a Reiki bed. So I bought a Reiki bed. I put it in the living room and they started coming over. I got a little whiteboard. I would write their names down, just like a little clinic in my living room. And they would come over and I would lay my hands down in different areas, put the cold laser on them. And it started getting more people and more people and more people. And then all of a sudden, that went from my eye blinking and going over people's bodies and going, did you ever have a rotator cuff tear here? Did you ever have a hernia here? I would hear words, hernia, rotator cuff tear, tumor, cancer. I would hear it and the blinking would start going to these areas. Then I would hear, take it out, remove it. Take it out, get it out.
How long did that happen before you started hearing that?
I would probably say within the year and a half, it would start happening.
So this is so people coming to see you for like literally like a year, and you were healing them sort of in a Reiki style kind of healing, like.
Yeah. And then it started to get too many people, and then my girlfriend, who's a Reiki practitioner, she says you need to get a license. I said why? You got to get a license. So then I got the Reiki license, but I got kicked out of the first Reiki class because they were like, how many people did you Reiki today? And everyone around the room was like 2, 3. They'd get to me, I would say 50. And they'd be like 50. And I'd be like, yeah. And they were like, that's weird. And then I'd say weird things like I see spirits around people because I see orbs and spirits. And then I was blinking. So they would kind of like just sign me off and get me out of the class. So it was like really weird. I got my Reiki masters within like 6 months.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done. I mean, geez, I took Reiki too, and they were pretty open about all that kind of stuff. I mean, we could talk about all kinds of crazy stuff.
It was really weird with me. And then I progressed super fast and more people were finding out about me in LA and what the secret, what's the bleep producers, and all these people were coming to my home, and it got out of control. And then my boyfriend was like, I'm giving you 2 weeks. And if you don't stop blinking, just kind of like my mom, it was a reenactment of my mom.
Oh my God.
And he's like, if you don't stop blinking, and I'm like, what are you talking about? If you don't stop blinking and this thing going on in the house, I'm moving out.
Wow. Not very supportive.
And I said, I'm a healer. And he's like, okay. But then it gets worse. So then this lady hears about me from Maryland, and she has an expo. And she called me and she said, do you want to come to the expo? There's, I feel that you are a medical medium, a medical intuitive, she called it. And I said, what's a medical intuitive? And she says, a medical intuitive is someone that's like Edgar Cayce. I said, who's Edgar Cayce? And she's like, you're Edgar Cayce. You're channeling Edgar Cayce. She goes, I've heard about you and what you're doing. And I said, oh. And then she says, you did a healing on my friend. You went through every single thing in her body and you knew everything. That's like Edgar Cayce. So then I told my boyfriend, I said, I'm like Edgar Casey. He goes, what? Who's Edgar Casey? I said, I'm a medical intuitive. He goes, there's no such thing as a medical intuitive. What are you talking about? Go back to who you were. The girl that I was going to marry, that I met, and stop talking like you're talking, the voice that you're talking like. I said, what voice am I talking like? Before you went in the hospital and you came home, you were a different person. And he was right, because after the NDE, I completely changed. And I felt bad. It was sad. We both cried. And it was really, I could even cry now because he's a good person. He's a wonderful man. And he didn't sign up to do this spiritual journey. He wanted the person that he wanted to marry. And it wasn't me. It was the other person. And I had 2 incredible, profound NDEs. And now I am on a different mission. And the mission is to raise higher consciousness and help people. And it wasn't the mission that he wanted to be on. So we parted on a good note, but it was a really sad time for us to leave. And he just said, you know, I don't know how you're going to survive. When he left, I was in a wheelchair still. I wasn't that strong. And he said, I don't know how you'll make it here. Because he left me in a really, he left. He had to go. But he left me with not a lot. I didn't have any money. And I was blinking and with my guides. So he left. But what happened within a few weeks after he left, the lady that called for the expo, she said, I'll pay your rent for 3 months and fly you to Maryland.
Wow.
With an appointment, and you can do the expo in Maryland. And that was right next to Edgar Casey.
Wow, that's great. Wow.
By the time I came back from there, with that experience out there, that completely changed my life. Because when I went out to that first expo, I was laying on hands with people that accepted me for who I was. They wanted to be healed. They wanted to have me do what I do, and they were being healed.
Were you getting like the instructions in your head to remove tumors and stuff like that prior to going to the expo? So that experience was already happening to you?
Yes. And when I told her, I said, I don't think you're going to want me.
Yeah.
I said, when I come out there, I'm going to be stomping my feet down and praising God and Jesus and saying, you are healed and your tumor's gone and all that. She goes, no, you're exactly what we want. We want you here. And then when I came back from there, it just bounces with me because the mission after the NDE is the mission of what they want, the higher guides. They take over me and I'm like a puppet for them. So after I came home, I get a call and the man called me, this man, and he said, do you want an office? I'm like, yeah. And he said, you've got one. And I said, yeah, because I don't want to live in the apartment by myself with people coming in here and I'm alone. So the next move was I moved out of here and I moved into an office.
Wow. So did you cause a little bit of a stir at the expo or?
Which expo?
The expo that you went to originally, did you cause a bit of a stir or did you?
Oh no,
out there up healing some people or?
Yeah, no, it was great there. I fit right in and it was wonderful. But when I came back to LA, I got the office and then I started shortly after that doing the LA Conscious Expo, the New Life Expo, and then I flew to New York and did the New York Expo. And then ever since then I was circuiting around the expos.
Wow, wow. So what was it like when you first started hearing the difference between, the area of the body and then them telling you like remove or like, did you understand what they were saying at first, or did it even dawn on you that you could actually do something like that?
No, when I look back at the videos and I see how radical I am and how radical they were or doing it, and now we're in COVID and I can't do those radical things. I see myself getting on top of people, putting my hands down people's throat, on their throats, taking out lumps on stage in front of people, and people loving it and cheering and going crazy and liking all that and going in audiences and picking people. And many of them speaking on camera and going, "It's gone." That's just what they wanted to show, that we could be in the fifth dimension and go and heal ourselves. And so to answer your question, I don't think about it. I just do what they tell me.
Wow. So then you're doing the circuit, you're healing people at these expos, you're gaining more notoriety and attention. And are you starting to hone the craft a little bit? Like,
yeah, they're teaching me, the guys are teaching me how they want me to do it, but show others how to do it also. That's the next step. Like, they want me to do it to show people how to do it. And then as it was honing and crafting, they would start having the audience come up on stage also and participate and do it too.
Wow.
Which was super fun.
So what do you mean by the fifth dimension? How does this, let's say physically healing somebody with hands on and all that, how does that have to do with the fifth dimension? Well, now
you don't even need to do it hands on. Like, now, since COVID broke out and even before COVID, I was doing it I do Skypes and stuff too. And then even on stage, it can be just distant healing too. It's just like co-healing the work, distant, like scalar energy. But we're in a third dimension right now. I mean, dimensional frequencies have been going on way before I was born. We live in dimensions. We're multidimensional beings. So we have a choice to be in any dimension we want to be in. The third dimension is just dis-ease, worry, fear. When we're in the fourth dimension, it's where it's more of nature. The fifth dimension is where all is possible. It's super magical. It's the dimension that you can do all of these things. And then beyond the fifth dimension, it's just sort of just everything and more. So it's the God, the miracles, the miraculous. That's how I see it in my view, because that's how I live it. And when you're multidimensional, you can bounce in and out of all these dimensions. You have your own consciousness that chooses what dimension you want to be in. Can I go into a lower frequency? Of course, I'm human. Do I rather be into the higher frequency? Yes. I'd rather stay in a fifth dimensional frequency. That's the energy that I crossed over in. So when I was in the other frequency, when I had my NDE, I experienced that dimension.
So would you say that that's different than the astral realm, or let's say if you're lucid dreaming and you're in that sort of different plane of existence, that's different than the fifth dimension, right? The fifth dimension is just more of a vibratory thing.
Yeah, I'd say the astral realms and things like that are higher, even a higher dimensional frequency. I say to have psychic abilities or an awakening, you need to be in the fifth dimension.
Are you healing them from that dimension then? Because like we've had guests on that talk about astral projection and healing in the astral realm, and so are you actually, do you think you're accessing it from that realm then?
You have to be in a fifth dimensional state of consciousness.
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. And so can you talk about some of the more, I don't know, some of the experiences you had at some of these expos with people, like healing them in front of other people?
Yeah. My gosh.
Do you have any that come to mind? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Just going through the audiences and finding people that have had, what I do is in the audiences are a little different than what I'm doing now, because I used to be able to go in the audience. So now I stand up on stage and I just kind of wave my hand across and I can pick somebody from really far away. Before I used to walk right in, but now we have distancing. And I'll just kind of remote review, and I can see someone where my eyes will blink and say, can you come up on stage? And they'll come up, and now I don't lay them on a bed anymore. I used to lay them on bed and scan people like that. Now I just scan you from standing from a distance holding a microphone. And I'll just look at somebody and wave my hand across. I don't know if you can see me. I'll wave my hand across that. And I'll just say, the guys are telling me that you have a thyroid issue, or you've had a brain tumor, so like, for instance, I had someone that had a thyroid tumor, stage 4, and also they'll tell me why she got it, and I'll know what year she had it. And then I'll say, but this is like before COVID.
Yeah, that's okay. That's kind of what we're,
Yeah. Right now, I don't really lay hands in public. In my office, I will lay hands on somebody to just sit off their body. But on Skype, I will do distant healing, and it does work. And so one of the most miraculous things I think I've ever had happen at the expo is that I laid hands on probably like a grapefruit, we even have it on a YouTube, ball of a person's, it's like a gout tumor on a lady. And it just, from the vibration of the whole room singing Om, and me laying hands on it, and she was speaking in Hebrew, Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, and we were all praying, and Om, it just went all the way down. It was like only about that much left.
Wow.
And it was just miraculous. And she was just crying in tears. And it was just so amazing. And then we also had another man that had 4-stage bone cancer. And we turned him over on his stomach, and we did prayers all the way up and down his spine at an expo. And then afterwards, he wrote back to us and said he had a really good prognosis with his cancer. And we were like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Can you accidentally go in and out of dimensions, or you have to be aware of it? Like if I just, because I'm not a dimension guy, but so if I'm just out hiking in the bush for a while, can I just like slip into the 4th dimension without being cognizant of it? Or is it something you need to do on some level?
Yeah, I feel that sometimes people are in a higher dimension and they are not even aware of it. Most people right now are in the 4th dimension because we're being forced to move out of the 3rd dimension right now with all of that's going on right now. We think we're in the worst dimension, which is the 3rd dimension, but we are actually in the most amazing awakening right now. So we are moving into the 4th dimension, which is love and joy, and a lot more people are meditating. A lot more people are trying to do more self-care. I don't know if you've noticed that, but people are trying to be more awakened. They're trying to like not drink out of plastic. They're trying to do more walks. They're trying to take care of themselves now more because they're seeing, oh my God, there's COVID. There's all this stuff happening. So most people are going into the 4th dimension. So yes, you can go into that 4th dimension.
Chad, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Does it work on other things? Like you've mentioned some pretty serious medical complications, like the stage 4 thyroid that you're describing. What about some of the people that they're hospitalized from COVID, for example? Have you tried any of those ones?
Yeah, I have COVID miracles all the time. I work on, that's a huge part of my practice right now, is immune suppressed conditions of all kinds. So when I scan people, I'll pick up if they've had COVID or if they are going through it. So it's very promising working with that particular issue. And this is something I think it's going to get easier to handle. I think the more that we're aware of our environment, environmental pollution, things to eat, how to take care of our homes, I feel we can combat this in the future, and by calling in the higher source spiritually, and understanding it's not only just about what we eat, but also about boosting our spiritual immune system is really important, and how our environmental lifestyle is important. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Chad?
Yeah.
So with
Whole-
sorry, with what you do, then would you describe it as a skill or a talent? Is it something that other people could learn?
Oh, what I do?
Yes.
Yeah, I find it as what I do individually is how I do it. And I find in my book I talk about how I find that every person can open up their own gifts and have, yes, their own tools, and learn how to communicate with their guides and move into the awakening and empower themselves in their life to be healed. Yes. And to also communicate with their guides and angels to stay healthy and strong. And if they have to take medicine, that's fine, but they also can live a holistic lifestyle too and be empowered into this fifth dimension and beyond.
Do you happen to know what your recidivism rate is for those that you've helped? Does cancers ever come back, for example, or they have to come back for a second treatment?
If they're healed with cancer?
Yeah, what you were describing before, like you said that in the one case that the voice had told you what had caused that issue for that one person. I think it was a thyroid issue, what the cause was. So once you've cured that, does it ever come back? Like if it's an environmental
Toxic.
Yeah.
I'd say that most people, like before they've met me and they've had breast cancer or thyroid cancers, or say somebody has had IBS or intestinal tract or colon cancers, or they've gone to 9/11, and they've come in with multiple tumors of their body, or they've had chemo or radiation already, and I just happen to find it again, or I find it for the first time and they go through chemo and radiation, or they don't do that route, or I happen to help dismiss it through the Holy Spirit, through the guides, because I'm an agent for the guides. I'm an agent for God. I'm not doing it. I'm just the agent. They're just using me as the tool to do it. And you're the receiver. You have to be open to have the healing in the fifth dimension. It's up to you then to follow your lifestyle plan. It's up to you to do your nutritional plan. It's up to you to change your lifestyle, because ever how you were contracting it, if it was environmentally or if it was emotionally or ever how you got it, you want to make sure, like you're just asking, you don't contract that emotional baggage again. You want to leave the third dimensional baggage behind.
That makes sense. You talk a lot about that in your book, or not a lot about it, but at the beginning, you kind of say, well, you have to be ready for this, right? And you have to want it. It's that whole thing where some people are stuck being a victim, and deep down, they don't really want to heal. So how do you recommend people that have, because for somebody with chronic issues, it's difficult because they're in pain daily. To get into even a space where they can imagine themselves healed, or even not feel negative all day long, like how do you recommend people that are in that super chronic pain daily state to get out of that, or get into the mindset that's required for healing?
Yeah, it's really great question. It's super, super, super hard sometimes, especially when you are depressed and sad and you've gone on, like organs have been taken out, you're on 38 rounds of chemo, you're really, really taken by the energy. And I have those kind of clients, they come to me, they need me, and I love them. I live for them. I love helping people. I've always been like that since I was a baby. Even though my mom, who I talk about in my book, was abusive to me, I loved her so much. And every client that I have, I pray for, and everybody that comes to me, I pray for them to know that however hard your struggle is, God, the Holy Spirit, and your angels love you, and they're here for you. And no matter what happens, by you having faith in your affirmations and your prayers is so important. And every day you take the time to meditate raises your vibration in your body and lowers your cortisol, which the cortisol is so important not to raise because that puts the fear in your body and lowers your immune system. It's so important to keep your immune system in control. And I can't stress that enough. And making sure, and I know it's going to sound like this is not that important, but it is so important to have good mineral water. Many people are still drinking so important tap water and water that is not filtered. They'll come to me and say, I have the best diet. Kimberly, I have the best diet and I have the best water. And I say on my form, do you have cancer and what kind of water do you drink? And most people will say they drink well water, they drink Fiji, Arrowhead, or they drink some type of plastic water, or they have alkaline water. But we really need mineral water, and we need to have good filters in our shower because most people that have immune suppressed conditions are breathing in steam out of their tap water, which fills their lungs up with pollution.
Okay, yeah, that's good advice. What do you mean by the alkaline water? Would that be like those Santivia filters? Do you know those ones?
Alkaline water is just a regular filter that goes on your sink, and that's okay to cook with and wash your dishes and all of that. But most people that are immune suppressed, or just maybe you're healthy too, you do need extra minerals like a spring water.
Okay. And then the daily, whatever you can do daily for meditation, prayer, affirmations, have that faith in that, and that'll help.
Getting your vitamin D, getting your sunshine, it's so important just to, I go over this. It's really, really important. Yeah.
Okay. I got a weird one for you here. Does it feel different healing COVID since it's a bioweapon?
Leading the witness.
It's no different. Healing an immune suppressed condition is no different from healing cancer or Parkinson's at all to me.
Yeah.
Because an energy that is a negative energy that gets in the body, if you're strong enough to take it on, can get out of the body. So anything that gets in you can get out of you if you're strong enough to take it on.
Okay. So I'm curious as to, when you were talking about hearing the like when you do your hand scan and you hear in your head sort of what's going on with the person, do you actually see anything in the bodies as well? Because I think I've heard of some medical intuitives that like see images or auras or something go off with organs and stuff like that, or is yours all sort of like channeled in your head?
Yeah. No, I hear, I do see energy leaving people's bodies. Yeah, I see colors and see stuff when they breathe it out. So, like, do you see energy leaving when you heal somebody? Like, would that be the negative energy from a tumor or? Yeah, I see sometimes bright lights around people's bodies, which is like light souls, and I can see negative energy leave the body when they breathe out negative frequencies. Yeah.
Wow. So let's get back to the timeline kind of then, because, we'll get into like why you decided to write your book and stuff like that. But you were doing the whole circuit, you got your office, and then you were doing all the expos and all that. So what happened after that at that point?
Gosh, pretty much,
like how did it happen that, because you've got a good section in the back of your book that talks about the scientific studies on your work and the results, which is important nowadays. I mean, it shouldn't have to be important, but it's important to know that these things are getting measured by scientists. And IONS is such a respected institution. It's great that you managed to work with them. So maybe we can talk about how that came about. And your experience with that, working with that.
Yeah, I think, everything with me just kind of fell into place. I got noticed at the Los Angeles Conscious Expo by a producer. He asked me if I wanted to come to New York to do an expo in New York. So I went to New York. And in New York, I did an event at the Life Center in Connecticut. And in Connecticut, there was a big event, and in that event, I had, I think, 20 private sessions. And in the private sessions, there was a man named Ed Lent. He's on my YouTube channel. And in Ed Lent, I went through his body, and I knew every single thing that was wrong with him, like I do. And I think it was like, I don't even remember. It's on my YouTube channel. I think I knew he had Parkinson's, he had a brain thing, he had I don't know, it was like so many things wrong with him. And the lady that ran the Life Center was good friends with Dr. Norm Shealy. And the producer of bringing me out there was Alan Steinfeld, who's been producing events in New York City for a long time. And he owns a show called New Realities TV. And Barbara, who owns the Life Center, kept seeing all these people just, coming in and out, and me doing all the healings. And she also had a double mastectomy. And the double mastectomy that she had, there was I can't remember, a physician there. I think she's on my YouTube channel. They had been working on plastic surgery with lumps from the double mastectomy. It's okay, I talk about it because there's a YouTube about it. And hardcore incisions. I don't know if you know about those mastectomies. They leave a lot of scars.
Yep.
And she asked me, could I do a laying on hands of the scar? And I said, okay. So I took my hands, I rubbed my hands with some oil, and I said the Hail Mary around the lumps of the tissue where they did the incisions. And after that, the doctor came in, and she said, this can't be, this could not ever, no one could ever have done something like this. And they took photographs, and the scars were completely smoothed out, and they were like silk, and her breasts were nice again. And the Ed Lint testimony was enough, and Barbara, to call Dr. Shealy and say, Dr. Shealy, there is a girl here named Kimberly Meredith, and she just smoothed out my lumps, incisions from my mastectomy. And there's a man here named Ed Lint, and she knew things in his body that no one has ever been at my center before. No psychic or medium has ever been at my center before that could do anything like this. You need to see her right away and test her. And then actually that was really cool, because after that my abilities heightened even more.
Wow.
Because my guys started liking to help boobies. They started to like smooth boobs out and stuff and help take more booby lumps out. But then I thought, I didn't even know Norm Shealy or anything about, I'm like sort of a weird healer. Like I didn't know what medical intuitive was nor Sheila or anything. And then I remember I got, when I got home, he called and I picked up the phone. He goes, "Hi." And I'm like, "Hi, who is this?" "This is Dr. Norm Sheely." I'm like, "Oh, hi." He goes, "Do you want to come visit me?" I thought it was some weird person. I was like, I didn't know who it was. And then he's like, "I can fly you to, Missouri, and you can stay with me, and we can do some testing on you." And I was like, "Okay." So it was really bizarre, yeah.
And then go ahead.
But you went?
and then I went there. And then my friend Alan Steinfeld flew out there, but that was a hard journey for me. I mean, people think that was like, "Oh, Kimberly went out there," and it was like easy. It wasn't.
Why is that? Because I was going to ask if it changes the way, like, being tested scientifically is a bit different. It must change the whole environment, the whole feeling of it. Did it feel differently trying to do stuff under the microscope, so to say?
Yeah, no, it was really intense. Getting there, being there, being tested by, having a lot of people, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. You're a lot of testing, going one patient after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. And then they had, Alan flew in and he filmed it. And not only do they want the persons to fill out every single piece of paper of what they have, I have to scan them and with my brain and tell Sheely and his associates every single thing. And then they wanted me to dissolve lumps off of people's bodies and tumors, and they have to make sure that those tumors are completely gone.
Wow. And so this is part of the ions research, right?
No, this is Dr. Norman Sheely.
Oh, okay, okay. That's a separate thing. Yeah, okay.
Dr. Norman Sheely, who wrote the foreword of my book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And then then you also got in. Ions got in touch with you too, I guess, and had.
Ions reached out to me, I think, a year or something later, and said they wanted to pick me to be one of their exceptional healers to do an exceptional healer program. And that was very interesting because I kind of met Cassie Vitan and Dean at another organization thing with Deepak Chopra. And then on that thing, I stayed there. And that was a whole different experiment with wrist. And that thing was very interesting because I went beyond the exceptional program of just doing what they wanted to do. And I started just doing scanning and things on all the body parts, except for they wanted just to do one body part, but I did everything. It's hard for me not because I'm a psychic.
So some of these results, so the results were like positive. I mean, I read the end
Very
of your
cool.
book there.
Yeah, I might go back and do some more testing there on cancer.
Yeah.
I want to, yeah.
How did you decide to write the book?
I don't really want to. The guides do it. Like I said, I never research them to do to me. They come to me to say, "Do you want to do it with us?" Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how everything falls into place. I mean, you have all these organizations. I mean, just to give people an idea, because I forgot, but he's CEO of the holistic. What was it? The American Holistic Medicine Association.
Oh,
so,
Norm?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got some pretty big hitters coming to study you. I mean, that must be fascinating. And it's all just and you're not looking for them. It's all just falling into place.
Yeah. And he also, I think he discovered Carolyn Meese.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like her. She's really nice.
Yeah. So what were you going to ask?
How did this all turn into the book?
How did it turn into the book or get in the book?
How did it turn? How did the book come to be from how did this journey, all? Yeah, how did this journey turn into a book?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting. I never thought I'd have a book. I was a writer when I was a little kid. like I started writing when I was around. I have a relative who was a writer. She passed away, unfortunately, in 2017. She's kind of a well-known writer. Her name was Joanne Kiger. You can look her up. She was a writer in our family, and when I was little, to get away from all the chaos, I would lock myself in my bathroom, and I would write. Like at the age of I think 7, I would write poetry and poems and kind of write then. But becoming a channeled writer started, I think I started writing in my tape recorder in 2017. One of my friends that I made was James Carmen, who started following me around with a camera when I was in New York City when I started doing the radical healings. He said, Kimberly, start writing, something. I said, why? He goes, I have a feeling you're going to want to document your healings and things. And I said, okay. And then I just started tape recording some of my stuff in a tape recorder.
Do you want to go through your book a little bit then?
Yeah. We could do maybe a channeled prayer.
Sure.
Or affirmation might be cool.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm really glad I did it because I think this is going to be helpful for people. So it takes time to get this stuff out. So let's do we could do, why don't we do, we could do, I don't know what you guys feel like. Do you feel like doing a prayer for protection?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like a multidimensional being prayer?
Protection's good, I think.
Can always use a little more protection.
Yeah.
Okay, we need protection. Okay, being in a state of gratitude. This is from my book. I channeled this. All of them I channeled. Being in a state of gratitude is a way to experience the fifth dimension. In the fifth dimension, we experience being in a fully content, fully aware, fully open to our spirit guides. Gratitude is a doorway to a different way of seeing our life. We are open to the angels and all the prophets. We truly know that we can show our way of our gratitude for our lives and our blessings by being humble, being a humble servant and doing as we are told. Thank you for guiding me to being helpful to humanity and all the creatures. Give me the attitude of a thankful daily gratitude and know that our truth dwells in a thankful heart. I know that giving without wanting anything in return brings my life to its fullest and has a universal effect of ascension. I live in trust. I live in the present moment of being at peace. Amen.
Nice. Thank you.
That's one. Here's one about a prayer of protection. I am not afraid. I am in the fifth dimension. I am with the Holy Spirit, completely protecting me. I am a multidimensional being, making a clear choice to experience the fifth dimension, combating against dark energy. I am love. I am light. I'm putting all my fears away. I'm releasing all my fears. I'm in the perfect love of Christ consciousness. I am here in the now. I am love. I am light. I am joy. I am. I have no fear. Amen.
Love is the answer.
Yes, you
Doesn't
are
it?
perfect.
So in your book, you've got a bunch of those different types of, prayers and affirmations, and you've got diet advice as well. You've got some of your miracle healings written down as well, the scientific stuff in the back, plus your journey as well.
Yes, I do.
Am I missing anything? Any big parts?
We've got a little bit about, we've got a 5D glossary. So in case you don't understand anything that I'm talking about, you can go to the glossary and look up some of these words that make things clear for you.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Chad, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I kind of feel like Columbo. Just one more question here.
Sure.
One of the things you described on the healing aspect of things, you described like an energy or colors leaving. Have you ever, how to phrase this, tried to put the genie back in the bottle, like put energy in, such as perhaps in the case of somebody that's brain dead, for example, but is, physically still viable? Say they've been in a car wreck or something, they're brain dead. Or is there a limitation? Perhaps you shouldn't be trespassing to those areas.
So are you saying like they've crossed over or passed away and I'm trying to pray for them?
Well,
Yes.
never having an NDE myself, I don't know.
Or bringing their soul back into their body kind of thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
that's
kind of
a great-
alive, but they're kind of not, so maybe there's a
Yeah.
limitation to what you can do.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So yes, people have called me to work on people that are in a coma. Can I share this real quick?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So no, I love that question. Recently, a family member of mine, she's pretty young. She was in a coma and she unfortunately was not doing good. And if her soul consciousness wanted it, I'm not God. Again, I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not the second coming, but I'm an agent I'm a healer. So I have to ask, and I get hit that it was okay. So I started a prayer circle and I lit a candle and I was praying nonstop for her. And she was in a coma and it was bad. But I kept feeling and I kept hearing them say, she's going to be healed. She will be healed. And I can tell when someone walks in my office, whether they've been told by a doctor, which I don't feel is okay for a doctor to say, you only have 2 months to live, or you only have 24 hours to live, because I don't feel someone can say that to someone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with me or
No,
not.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
they were telling my family member that you're not going to leave the hospital. But I felt she would be okay. So I started this. And she woke up and her eyes opened and she is eating right now. Praise God.
Wow. Did it happen in front of you? Did she open up her eyes in front of you, or?
Well, I'm home here praying and starting a prayer service. with
Oh,
many
wow.
people.
Okay.
So I do this for many people. Yeah. And so the answer is yes, praise God. Yes. You can put the energy of source back into people's bodies. Yes.
Was she somewhere, like, did she have any remembrance of where she was when she came back into her awareness or anything like that? Not
I
sure.
don't know.
Yeah.
She
I'd
woke
love
up,
to
that's
interview
all-
some
She
coma
woke up.
people.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
And I have many, many experiences with people where they've been told, you're not going to make it tomorrow. And they are living now 2 to 3 years later.
Wow. Can you do private sessions for people?
Yeah, on my website, thehealingtrilogy.com, I do 4 days a week Skypes, 2 days a week at my office. I've never shut down during COVID, not one day.
Good for you. Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, rock on.
What an amazing story and journey. I mean, holy.
What was the website again?
Thehealingtrilogy.com.
Okay.
All one word?
Yeah, the healing trilogy.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes. And
Is that where the book will be? The book comes out next month, December 7th. Where it'll be available? It'll be available, obviously, on your website, Amazon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You guys are my favorite humans.
oh, thanks.
Wow.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been great. It's been great chat. Yeah. Nice to get to know you. And we'll recommend people check your book out.
Thank you.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. I might be getting in touch with you for a session.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. See ya.
Thanks. Bye, you guys. Thank
Bye.
you both.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was our chat with Kimberly Meredith. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, it was good. I like how it ended up flowing. I mean, I was a little concerned because this is like, I mean, I guess it's different now because we have these two shows, so they kind of overlap. Like we had a 2-hour episode very similar on healing and stuff. So then we feel like we're doing all this healing stuff. But I mean, if people only listen,
Take it up with the booker.
If people only, you can't do things are rescheduled all the time. You cannot time it.
Are you
properly.
defending the booker?
I am. But you know what I'm saying. So, but the Grimerica show, I don't know. I'm not sure if we've had a lot of healing ones, but it sure feels like we've done a lot of these sort of spiritual healing ones. So we're gonna have to take a break from that. But this was a good one to sort of finish it off, I think. I mean, I think it ended up being.
I'm looking forward to winter to catch up on some stuff.
What'd you think?
It was good.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, I'm honestly this one I might end up booking something. Yeah.
For you?
No, but for somebody else. I mean, it just fascinates me, the people that have had these NDEs and then they have these abilities. Like, I mean, it's just.
Oh, I should hit you with a shovel.
Just can we do it like just by injection or something?
Or why don't you just go get your vaccine?
Well, she can almost bring you back from the dead.
That'll
right?
be your
Stuff it
NDE.
back in you.
That could be your NDE.
No, because it won't happen if it's a bioweapon.
Oh, the vaccine's a bioweapon too?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, dude.
So it's double bioweapon?
It is. We're all. There's not many people going to stay clean out of this. You're going to either have to get the thing or the jab. You know.
And what if you get neither?
Then you're pure blood. Jinx.
I've heard that a couple times now. You guys are getting weird with this. I feel like I'm in a fucking True Blood episode, for fuck's sake.
That's what I called it the other day. I go, True Blood? I'm like, no, it's not True Blood. It's pure blood.
You fucking weirdos. Big thanks to Kimberly for coming on the show. Big thanks to Chad, who's coming out on the elk hunt, of course, with Graham. And I am Miles. On the elk hunt, we'll probably record some hunt episodes while we're out there. Hopefully we'll get at least an hour recording in or something. I mean, you always think you're going to get some recording in, and then you don't.
I know.
But we're not allowed to do anything except sit in the hotel room because we don't have vaccine passports. I'll have to send Miles in to get the food.
We'll get coffee.
We're going to cook.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of food I'll bring out there. We got some steaks and some pork
that's
chops.
good.
So
Right on.
we'll eat good. All that stuff. Anyway, big thanks to Kimberly. Big thanks to Chad. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Big thanks to Graham for reading the book. Even bigger thanks if you're one of the few people who choose to support the great work or the work. I don't know how you think the work is. I think it's pretty great sometimes. If you think it's pretty great sometimes too, head over to grimerica.ca/support today and decide how great. $1 a month, great. $2 a month, great. $50 a month, great. Maybe it's just a one-time donation, great. Maybe it's email graham@grimerica.com and say you fucktard suck, great. You decide. Graham@grimerica.com gets all the feedback. grimerica.ca/support.
Send me some sightings and like
trip reports.
Yeah, trip reports and spiritual experiences and stuff like that.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And hate mail. Send some hate mail. Send some support.
Healing stories. Miracle healing stories.
You can get the audiobooks. Adultbrain.ca. Isis Unveiled Volume 1 just come out. A couple other ones. Ancient Religion of the Chinese. Check all that stuff out. Get my book if you want. You know, I wrote a book this summer. ACanadianShame.ca to check that out. Or you can get it on Amazon. All that great stuff. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week. I guess you say bye to the live people.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
We appreciate you guys tuning in live. And, yeah, we'll be back, I guess, next Tuesday.
Oh, how right. I got to read this out loud. How right the Grimerica boys were about the vaccine issue. Holy crap. Yeah. Maybe Colin was the one that called us paranoid.
Paranoid is paranoid is pretty fair.
There was a couple other things. No, there was paranoid and something else. And
delusional?
No, I'm trying to remember.
I've been called so many things. I mean, I really think it's been good for my self-esteem in the long run.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I feel like, you know how the Scientologists, like, you sit here for like 3 days and just call you every name. And like, you fucking droopy-eyed faggot.
But it was last summer. It was a year ago. It was a year ago.
That's not even an insult. Anyway.
It was a year ago when we were predicting all this. And they're like, you guys are paranoid.
We are paranoid. You're more paranoid than me.
I'm not paranoid.
Just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not watching.
I'm just
because you're paranoid don't mean you get them right once in a while. I mean, even stop clocks right twice a day.
There you go.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the live show. We'll be back Tuesday. Oh, the two horses humping? They're not humping. Never mind. It's my kids and their pony game screenshots. All right, guys.
They're just getting their worms.
Darcy.
You know, they're just taking ivermectin to get their worms out.
Yeah, that's the ivermectin factory.